High school life had always been boring for me. Just the same dull routine. From classes, assignments, and watching people live their dramatic teenage lives while I kept to myself. But then something changed. A transfer student called Michael came in, and that was where it all started. Michael was very handsome with a well-structured face that even the school's most popular guys and girls couldn't stop staring. His presence alone was enough to turn heads, and rumors spread like wildfire. He was the son of some wealthy family. But what made him even more mysterious was the fact that he barely spoke to anyone. Michael wasn't like those rich, arrogant types who flaunted their wealth. In fact, he didn't seem to care about it at all. He just sat in class, staring out the window like he was in a different world, completely ignoring the attention he got. It was frustrating how effortlessly cool he was. For 2 weeks, Michael didn't really get along with anyone. Until Peter showed up. Another transfer student. But unlike Michael, Peter was loud, too friendly, and was completely dedicated to Michael like a personal assistant. It didn't take long for everyone to realize that Peter was planted there by Michael's parents. Apparently, the rich boy wasn't allowed to be alone. People started calling Michael a prince and Peter his royal guard. It was hilarious, but Michael hated it. Every time someone mentioned it, his jaw clenched and he looked like he wanted to set something on fire. It didn't take long for me to notice that I was already having a crush on him. But how could someone like me ever stand a chance? It's not like I was ugly. In fact, some of the girls in my class have a crush on me too. But I always felt insecure anytime some of them gets dropped off by their parents' luxury cars. I am no match for them, and that includes Michael. After that day, I knew one thing for sure. I wanted to get closer to Michael. But approaching him directly was impossible. He barely talked to anyone. So, I did the next best thing. I tried making friends with Peter. I figured if I could get on his good side, maybe I'd get a chance to be around Michael more. It wasn't my proudest moment, but what else could I do? One afternoon, I casually sat next to Peter in class. "Hey Peter," I started. "You're always with Michael, right? What's he like?" Peter turned to me, and for a moment, I thought I saw amusement in his eyes. Then he chuckled. "You think Michael would ever be friends with you?" His words hit me like a slap. "Listen," he continued. "Michael is way out of your league. You're just some nobody. Don't embarrass yourself." I didn't even know what to say. I just sat there, frozen, as Peter smirked and turned away. From that day on, I stopped trying. I kept to myself, burying my feelings deep where no one could see them. But fate had other plans. One afternoon, as I was hurrying down the hallway, I was lost in my thoughts, then I crashed straight into someone. Books hit the floor, my heart slammed against my chest, and when I looked up, it was Michael. He stood there staring at me. And I just stood there staring back, completely frozen. For a full minute, I forgot how to breathe. In that moment, I wished I could have him all to myself. But Michael just blinked once, then walked away as if nothing had happened. I felt ridiculous. And things only got worse from there. Peter must have noticed my failed attempt at interacting with Michael, because from that day on, he made me his favorite target. He'd switch my seat when I wasn't looking, take my things, and act clueless when I confronted him. And whenever Michael was around, he'd loudly tease me. "Still dreaming about being friends with Michael?" he'd say with a grin. I did my best to ignore him, but one day he took things too far. I walked into class to find my chair missing. My books were on the floor, and Peter sat in my usual spot. "Looking for this?" he said, kicking my chair slightly. The whole class chuckled. I clenched my fists, forcing myself to stay calm. But then, before I could react, Michael stood up. His chair scraped loudly against the floor, and the laughter in the room died instantly. "Get up," Michael said. Peter blinked. "You heard me." Michael's voice was low but firm. "That's not your seat." For the first time, Peter looked uncomfortable. He hesitated before finally getting up, mumbling something under his breath. I was too stunned to move. Michael sat back down in his own seat like nothing had happened. And that was enough to make my heart race. "Denise." I blinked. I snapped out of my thoughts, realizing someone had been calling me. I turned to see my colleague, Daniel, staring at me with a raised brow. "Sorry, what did you say? Are you okay?" he asked, arms crossed. "I've been calling you for the third time now." I cleared my throat, embarrassed. "Yeah, I'm fine. Daniel gave me a skeptical look before handing me a stack of files. Here. Review these carefully. The chairman is visiting this afternoon. I froze. The chairman? I repeated. Yeah, you heard me. Daniel said. It's rare for him to come in person unless something urgent is happening, so make sure everything is in order. I nodded and took the files, still trying to wrap my head around the news. The chairman was like a ghost. He rarely visited the company. What could be so important that he'd show up today? Shaking off my thoughts, I focused on the documents. 2 hours later, the company was in chaos. Employees hurried back and forth, making sure everything was perfect. Some rushed outside to welcome the chairman, while others frantically adjusted their ties and fixed last-minute details. I was still at my desk, checking the last few pages, when the room suddenly fell silent. I looked up. The chairman had arrived. He was a tall, commanding man in an expensive suit, walking with an air of authority. But my eyes didn't stay on him for long, because right beside him, walking in with effortless grace, my breath caught in my throat, was Michael, my high school crush. I thought I was dreaming. The same Michael I had been thinking of some hours ago was standing before my own very eyes, looking even more handsome than before. Is he the chairman's son? I was mute. The entire office bowed in greeting. I followed suit, barely registering my own movements. My head was spinning. Michael barely glanced at anyone as he and the chairman walked past straight into the meeting room. As soon as the doors shut behind them, I let out a shaky breath. Everything was happening so fast. Daniel returned later to pick up the reviewed documents from my desk. I handed them over without a word, my mind still struggling to process everything. Throughout the rest of the day, I wasn't myself. How did I even end up working for Michael's father? The thought haunted me as I kept my head down, doing everything I could to avoid coming across Michael. I stayed in my office, taking on extra work just to have an excuse not to walk around. But no matter how much I distracted myself, one thing remained clear. Michael was here and I can't hide from him forever. When I got home that evening, I collapsed onto my bed, staring at the ceiling as a roller coaster of emotions hit me all at once. Memories from high school came flooding back, particularly the day I turned Michael down. Back then, I never thought much about it. But for the fact that Michael's mother paid me to reject Michael and switch to another school still lives rent-free in my head. When Michael heard about it, he stopped talking to me and we lost connections. It's been years now and I thought the past doesn't matter anymore until now. I had come across him again. I wish I could tell him everything that happened and apologize to him. I sighed and closed my eyes, hoping sleep would take me away from my thoughts. The next day, I woke up early, had breakfast, and got ready for work. The moment I stepped into the building, I could tell something was wrong. The office was in chaos again. Daniel walked past me in a hurry and stopped when he saw my confused expression. The chairman and his son are here, he said, sounding breathless. There's going to be a meeting. My stomach twisted. A meeting? No, I can't go. I was still thinking of an escape plan when Daniel added that it's compulsory. An important message is going to be passed. I swallowed hard. There was no way out of this. With slow, reluctant steps, I made my way to the conference room, choosing a seat at the farthest end, hoping no one would notice me. Then the meeting began. The chairman stood at the front, his expression as serious as ever. Then, with a tone of finality, he said, "As of today, my son Michael will be the president of this company." Everyone thought it was a joke. The chairman wasn't even dead yet. Why would he hand over the company to Michael so soon? The chairman was silent, reading everyone's faces. The room tensed as the realization settled in. This was real. The same Michael I had crushed on years ago was now going to be my boss. The meeting ended and I was the first to sneak out. I needed air. The next day, Michael arrived in a sleek black car. He stepped out in a fitted designer suit, looking more handsome than ever. His sharp jawline, neatly styled hair, and effortless confidence made heads turn instantly. Men and women alike stared at him in admiration, whispering among themselves. Some tried to act uninterested, but their stolen glances said otherwise. I had just arrived at work when I spotted him from a distance. My breath hitched, and before I could stop myself, I darted behind the building, pressing my back against the wall. I needed to avoid him. I was sure I had hidden well until a loud voice shattered my hopes. Denise. I flinched. I turned and saw Daniel grinning at me. Daniel, what are you doing? I whispered sharply. Keep quiet. Michael, who had been about to enter the building, paused. His head tilted slightly as if he had caught onto our conversation. Panic shot through me. Before I could make another escape attempt, Daniel suddenly grabbed my arm and pulled me forward. Come on, we need to be inside before the boss does. My heart almost stopped at the realization of that. My body stiffened as I peeked toward the entrance. Michael had already walked in, but something about the way he stopped halfway told me he had seen me. I was slowly walking behind, then Michael turned back. Our eyes met. Michael's expression didn't change, but I could see the flicker of surprise in his gaze. His lips parted slightly as if he wanted to say something. But then, just as quickly as he had looked back, he turned away and disappeared into his office. I let out a breath I didn't realize I was holding. Of course. He wouldn't talk to me. Not after what happened in high school. I forced my feet to move and entered my own office, feeling strangely disappointed. Minutes later, I had just settled at my desk, trying to push everything aside and focus on work, when a young lady knocked on my door. Denise. She called out. I looked up. The new boss is looking for you. My heart sunk. Why Michael was calling me? My hands felt clammy as I stood up, my mind racing with a million possibilities. Taking a deep breath, I slowly made my way toward Michael's office, each step heavier than the last. What did he want from me? I reached his door. Swallowed hard. Then finally I knocked. Come in. Came the deep, familiar voice. I pushed the door open and stepped inside. Standing in front of Michael again, I felt my chest tighten. The air in his office was cold, or maybe it was just me, nervous and overthinking everything. My hands felt clammy and I couldn't meet his gaze directly. Michael, my high school crush, the one I had tried so hard to forget, was now sitting in front of me like a king on his throne. He leaned back in his chair, studying me with an unreadable expression before finally speaking. Long time no see, Denise. His voice was deep and smooth, just like I remembered. Can't believe you work here at my father's company. I swallowed hard, forcing a shy smile. Yeah. I'm also surprised to see you here. Michael suddenly stood up. He walked toward me, slow and steady, like a predator approaching its prey. The closer he got, the more my heart pounded against my ribs. Then, with a smirk, he said something that made my stomach drop. The cute guy who turned me down because my mom offered him $50,000. I felt my face heat up instantly. I looked down, guilt swirling inside me. Michael, I can explain what happened back then. It's already in the past. His tone was sharp, cutting me off before I could even start. I don't want to talk about it, he said. I clenched my fist. I wanted to explain, but he didn't give me the chance. I don't want to hear any of it. And that was it. Silence stretched between us. My chest felt tight, like something was pressing against it. I could see it in his eyes. Michael hadn't forgotten. And I had hurt him. I lowered my head slightly. I'm sorry for hurting you. Michael let out a small chuckle, but there was no humor in it. It's fine. I've already gotten over it. Liar. He wasn't over it. I could see it. But I knew better than to push. His eyes flickered toward the door. You can leave now. I've already seen you. Just like that, I was dismissed. I nodded, turned around, and left his office without another word. Back at my desk, I sank into my chair and pressed my fingers against my forehead. I had to forget about this. I had to work and suppress these feelings. But deep down, I knew this wasn't over. I had barely settled into my chair when a familiar voice snapped me out of my thoughts. It was the same lady who had come to call me earlier. She walked up to my desk, holding a small, neatly wrapped package in her hands. The boss said I should give you this, she said, placing it in front of me. It's from Mr. Michael, she said. I stared at the gift, completely dumbfounded. My mind raced with questions. The lady didn't wait for a response. She simply gave me a polite smile and walked away, leaving me in a daze. I hesitated for a moment before grabbing the package and quickly headed to the restroom. If this was some kind of joke, I'd rather find out alone. Once inside, I locked the door, took a deep breath, and carefully unwrapped the package. The moment I saw what was inside, I gasped. It was a wristwatch. Not just any wristwatch, but the exact one I had been saving up for months to buy. My hands trembled slightly as I picked it up. It was beautiful, sleek, and really expensive. My heart pounded. Why would Michael give me this? Then I noticed something else inside the package. A small folded note. I hesitated before opening it. Meet me at 8 p.m. Don't be late. At the bottom of the note was a phone number. I stared at it, completely stunned. What was Michael planning? Was this some kind of trap? Or was this his way of making up for earlier? I swallowed hard. My mind screamed that meeting him was a bad idea. But deep down, my heart was already making the decision for me to go. I sat in my car for good 5 minutes before stepping out. The lounge Michael had picked looked expensive. The kind only rich people went to. Taking a deep breath, I dialed Michael's number. He answered on the second ring. You're here? Yeah, I just got here. Stay where you are, I'm coming, Michael said. A moment later, the doors of the lounge swung open and Michael stepped out. My stomach did a weird flip. Why was he so unresistible? Even after all these years, he still looked like the kind of guy who could make anyone, boy or girl, fall for him. His fitted black shirt hugged his body perfectly, and when he smirked slightly at me, I felt my heart skip. Damn it, Denise. Stay focused. Without a word, Michael led me inside. The lounge was dimly lit, cozy, and expensive looking. Once we were seated in a quiet corner, Michael leaned forward. I'm ready to listen now. What was it you wanted to explain earlier? I was surprised. After all these years, he was finally willing to hear my side of the story. I took a deep breath. It happened 8 years ago. Michael listened intently as I told him everything. How Peter had reported me to his mother, saying I was a bad distraction for Michael. How his mother had been furious and secretly had some men beat me up to scare me away. How, at the same time, my mother had been critically sick and needed money for surgery. And how Michael's mother had given me an offer I couldn't refuse. $50,000 for the surgery, but only if I left Michael and switched school. I had to take it. I didn't have a choice. When I finished, Michael was silent for a long time. His fingers lightly tapped against the table as he processed my words. That's different from what I was told. He finally said. I tensed up. Michael, please believe me. I never wanted to leave you or reject you when you asked me out to be your boyfriend. It's fine. He interrupted, exhaling. His gaze softened. I believe you. I felt an immense wave of relief. Then he leaned back in his seat, looking thoughtful. I guess we have a lot of lost years to make up for. I frowned slightly. What do you mean? Michael didn't answer. Instead, he stood up and stretched. Wait here, he said. I'll get us a private room and some champagne. And with that, he walked away, leaving me sitting there with my heart pounding, wondering just what exactly Michael had planned. Michael returned, his eyes locked onto mine as he took my hand and led me to the private room he had paid for. The room was well decorated. The dim golden lights, the plush velvet seating, and the soft classical music playing in the background, it all screamed luxury. Soon, a waiter brought in our drinks and food. I ate quietly, stealing glances at Michael, who seemed perfectly comfortable in this high-class setting. After finishing my meal, Michael popped open the champagne and poured me a glass. One drink turned into two. Two turned into three. And an hour later, my head was slightly light, my body warm from the alcohol. That's when Michael finally spoke. I still love you, Denise. He confessed, his voice deep and honest. I never stopped. I don't want to lose you again. I felt my heart race. I feel the same too, I admitted. Before I could say more, Michael leaned in and kissed me. His hands roamed my body, caressing me in ways that sent shivers down my spine. He was touching me like he had waited years for this moment. And truthfully, I had waited too. Feeling bold, I switched roles, pressing him down against the couch and showing him that I wasn't the same shy high school boy anymore. Michael chuckled, his hands gripping me tightly. You've learned some new things, I see. We had fun that night. When Michael reached for a condom, I didn't resist. I had waited all my life for that day when I would be with Michael in the same room doing all manner of crazy stuffs. It had finally come to pass. The next morning I woke up feeling exhausted. I barely had the energy to move, and the last thing I wanted to do was go to work. Michael, of course, noticed. He called someone, and just like that, my leave was approved. It felt ridiculous, but I wasn't about to complain. I spent the rest of the day lying in bed, feeling an overwhelming sense of happiness. Because Michael had asked me to be his boyfriend. "Let's start over," he said. And of course I had agreed. From that day we started dating but kept our relationship a secret. Michael was sweet. He sent me flowers and expensive gifts, always in secret, always making sure no one suspected a thing. It was perfect. Until something unexpected happened. One morning I arrived at work only to see my phone buzzing non-stop. When I checked my notifications, my stomach dropped. Someone had published a photo of Michael and me together holding hands in a restaurant. The crazy caption caught my attention. "Guess the new company president isn't as straight as people thought." I scrolled down, my hands shaking. The comments were already piling up. But the worst part? The person who posted it was none other than Peter. Michael's old friend. Michael's obsessed old friend. What Michael didn't know was that Peter had always been in love with him. And now, Peter had finally made his move to destroy us. Would we get out of this mess? Or was our love doomed again? Please leave a comment, and don't forget to subscribe for more BL stories. Thanks for watching.